Y'all listen to what this man is saying. Just listen. I'll be back.
But we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody. These people that you can't replace them very easily. People that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried. We've tried. Everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. I said, what happens if they get it to a farmer the other day? What happens if they get a bad back? He said, they don't get a bad back, sir, because if they get a bad back, they die. I said, that's interesting, isn't it? These are very, in many ways, they're very, very special people.
First of all, who are these people? Let's address that first. Who are these people? Then you go on to say the people in the inner city are just not going to do their work. You damn right we not doing that work. You think you was going to deport people and then have the inner city come out and work in fields and become new farmers? This is not the 60s, the 50s. We are not. Don't piss me off. Now you want to backtrack and say, oh, we're going to get y'all back and y'all can come and go to school and all. Now, some people may want to come back just because they want to be in the United States to do God's work, because that's just what they do. They're natural born workers. But then again, I would let him know, if I was deported and then you asked me to come back to do work for you or just the States, period. Oh, baby, I'm going to need a lifetime supply of citizenship. You're going to have to up the ante on the pay. I need to be living comfortably. I shouldn't have to work from sun up to sundown and just make a few bucks a day. Like, farmers are not making that kind of money. Now, if you thought that inner city was going to get out there and do some work, you got your rabbit. Have a good day.
Wagwan family, grand rising kings and queens from Africa and across the ocean. If you're good today, please like this video and leave a comment. I greet you with love and gratitude for your presence today, for you coming here. Family, today I am going to unpack a heavy truth. I'm going to talk about something that is going around, a truth that many people want to keep hidden in a plain sight, but I am going to talk about that one, about Donald Trump. We have seen, since he resumed power, his executive orders, mass deportation policies, and the real underlying plan that many won't say out loud, a plan to push black people back to the fields of low-wage labor, economic servitude, and modern-day slavery. Now, I'm going to talk about this video because there's a clip I've come across about how the policies of Donald Trump and executive orders of Donald Trump was designed to push back black people to the lands, to push back black people to the field, because he talked and said that black people are good in doing this and they are not going to do this. So in other way, it's like he wanted these immigrants to go so that black people will feel the pressure and go back to the lands. Before I continue, I want you to watch these clips here, and then we come back with more commentary.
So Donald Trump, not in these exact words, but basically admitted this week that a lot of the things that he's been doing, a lot of the policies, a lot of the executive orders that he's been signing off on was all made with the intention of getting black people back into the field. It was made with the intention of getting black people back into the field. All right, so on Tuesday, Donald Trump made an appearance, right, on CNBC's Squawk Box. And on that platform, he actually made a lot of commentary in regards to the situation with the deportations, migrant workers, the state of America's agriculture, and he made comments on inner city people not doing farm work. I want you to always remember that when they mention inner city, that means black. In Donald Trump's exact words, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They've tried. We've tried. Everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. They don't get a bad back because if they get a bad back, they die. He also went on to say that they are very, very, very special people and they cannot be easily replaced. Remember what I said, anytime that they mention the words inner city people, inner city communities, inner city neighborhoods, that's black. That's code for black. Black, blackity black, okay? Black people. And it is because of that exact commentary that it reconfirms for me, okay? Not confirms, but reconfirms, meaning that I already knew. But it reconfirms that the plan from the very beginning with these executive orders, right, was to further destabilize Black communities, further destabilize poor communities, but Black mainly, so that you could put pressure on these communities so that you could get them to go back into the field, right? And then once you get them back in the field, bingo, you've made America great again. Modernize slavery. But Black people said, fuck you and this little game that you want to play. Since we are the most valuable player on the scoreboard, we will remove ourselves and let's see if this game is still going to continue. And that's in fact what we're seeing right now. Donald Trump thought that by forcing all of these other people out, taking away our Medicaid, doing all of these things to further destabilize our community, that we would conform, that we would just do what he wants us to do, what the whites of this world, what white supremacy wants us to do. But Black people decided to pull a Uno reverse and they did nothing, which is something that they're not used to Black people doing. They're used to Black people having this spirit of rebellion, having this spirit of revolution. But instead, Black people decided that, you know what, I'm going to preserve my energy for me and my people, but I'm also going to remove myself from this game entirely. And now everything is starting to crumble. The way that the America agriculture is taking a huge hit right now because of Donald Trump and his deportations. Like, I don't think that you understand how much America survives off of the labor of undocumented workers. And when I say y'all, I mean all the other races. Black people knew, because Black people were telling you. They told you, don't do this. Don't do this, because we're not going back in the field. Don't do this, but y'all didn't listen. And just to put into retrospect of how important undocumented migrant workers are to the agriculture economy here in America, the U.S. Department of Agriculture reports that roughly 42% of crop workers are undocumented, with nearly 70% being foreign-born. This labor is essential in states like California and Texas, where up to 80% of farm workers lack legal status. Donald Trump signed off on a lot of these executive orders back in January. It is now August, and in between that time, he has done a parade of chaotic shit, trying to put pressure on the Black community, but the Black community has refused to fold. They have not folded. And it's not just the Black community, but the legal Hispanic community here, the legal Latinos here, the Browns, and every other race that sees what this administration has been trying to do from the very beginning. They have not folded. And because of that, everything that he has signed off on in January is starting to bite him in the ass in August. And to all of you people out there that had so much to say in regards to the Black community and the 92% and them actually deciding to stand down and not participate, to not get involved, to protect their peace, all of the critiques that you had on their decision, let this be your example. Let this be your primary example as to why you should stay the fuck out of Black people business. Stay the fuck out of Black people business. You had so much to say in regards to our decision and wanting to stand the fuck back and deciding to remove ourselves from this entire game altogether, right? Now, you see that Black people actually knew what the fuck they were doing. They knew what the fuck they were doing. They told you were going to need these people because they weren't doing it anymore. They told you they wasn't going to do it anymore. You still got rid of them people. You still got rid of the migrants. You still did and went through with the mass deportations, and now you guys want food. But you thought that the Black people was going to get into the field. No, they wasn't going to do it. They wasn't going to do it. They wasn't going to do it. And now you see why they decided from the very beginning, oh, I see how this is going to play out. Exit stage left.
Trump is doing everything in his power to bait Black people, and it's only getting worse because Black people aren't falling for anything at all right now. To the point where now you're just about to deploy the National Guard in Washington, D.C., where there's a high Black population, especially a high Black homeless population, because you want Black people in the streets protesting so you can enact martial law. We all know it. We all know it. Because the thing is, when white people have been protesting, and all of these protests have been so civil, none of them have even been streamed on TV because they're not violent. They don't get violent with white people. But they have no problem getting violent with black people. And they know if they can get black people out to protest and to fight for our rights yet again, they can enact martial law and they can throw us all in jail if we ever think of rebelling. And I'm not living in a military city. No offense, but I don't respect any authority at all whatsoever. That's my issue. I'm also not afraid of cops. I'm not afraid of the military. I've had cops with guns in my faces. I've had cops with giant horses and guns in my faces while I protested before. I will have a traffic stop and there will be multiple cops that get out for me at a traffic stop. And I've never been scared of y'all, because the thing is, y'all get off on people being scared. That's the only way y'all can't get me. Like, none of you bitches scare me. Y'all are like my little brother with his toy gun. Like, oh my god, you're gonna get me. Like, quit playing with your food and just do what you want to do. But everybody else is just a chess piece. Everybody else is. The only group that he's actually after is black people. That's why he's deporting Latinos, because who's gonna work in the fields now? With black female unemployment rate reaching an all-time high. That's why he's cutting Medicaid. That's why you're trying to regulate food stamps. That's why you cut the weather service. That's why you cut the only accessible piece of media to every single child in the country, poor and rich. He literally said, he was like, they were on a farm and he was talking about farmer responsibility, as in people could live on these farms with these farmers and they could just build property on the land and people could live here and work on the fields. Does that not sound familiar? Make America Great Again is bringing back slavery, bringing back black people in shackles. That's all it is. That's literally everything. And I think he knows that black people aren't falling for it, which is why he's getting more intense and more aggressive with his tactics. Because black people aren't falling for anything right now. We're not protesting. We're not fighting. We're just minding our business. So, good luck.
Off on was all made with the intention of getting black people back into the field.
We just had our first black president. Segregation ended 60 years ago legally. To think, after everything we've been through, that this man believes that there would come a time where we would willingly go back to the fields.
So, did you hear that Trump pulled out a racist trope from the era of American slavery when talking about undocumented workers? Yeah, he was being interviewed on CNBC when he said this about people from Central and South America working on American farms.
These people do it naturally. They don't get a bad back, because if they get a bad back, they die.
These people do it naturally. That's precisely what slaveholders said about enslaved African Americans to justify slavery. They claimed the natural place of African Americans in the world was to be enslaved because they naturally had lower intelligence and naturally had bodies that could withstand hard labor, long hours, infectious diseases, and extreme heat. Or as Trump put it, they could be worked almost to death and, quote, they don't get a bad back. According to enslavers, black people occupied a position in the natural order that was a notch or two above livestock, but well below the status of white people. That's clearly how Trump sees the largely Latino workforce laboring on American farms. But Trump wasn't done with the racism. He made it clear that in his ideal world, black Americans would be the ones laboring in those fields. But alas.
You know, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it.
There you have it. Those inner city black people should be doing the farm labor. But according to Trump, they're just too lazy. As he put it, we, white people, have tried everything, but they, black people, refuse to work. So much racism in just a few sentences. And the eggs, still expensive.
Welcome back. Now, when Trump talked about deporting millions of immigrants, most people thought it was about immigration enforcement. It was about taking back illegal immigrants to their country. But if you look closer, this wasn't random policy. According to the lady that I have played the video for, she's explaining how she thinks, and I am resonating with her. I am buying her story because I think it was a calculated strategy to reshape the labor market, specifically to destabilize black communities economically and force them back into exploitative labor. that is back to the field where there is low wages. Now, why I'm resonating with this lady is because history has shown us time and again that the controlling power of this country, or the controlling power of America, have used every tool at their disposal to keep black labor cheap and submissive. After slavery ended, laws called black codes made it illegal for freed black people to be unemployed. They criminalized survival, trapping black people into sharecropping contracts that were nothing but slavery by another name. Now, the convict leasing system followed, where black men were arrested on false charges and leased out to plantations and factories for free labor. We all know about the history, about how black people are forced to the lands, how all these farms. We know that. It's not something new. When I say this, when we came to Jim Crow, the Jim Crow law and social practices forced black people into manual jobs. It forced black people, and they were denied access to education and fair wages and enforced racial segregation. The economic engine was designed to keep black families poor and dependent since from day one. And even right now, when black people are trying to grow their wings, still we have laws that are being pushed forward to keep black people back. Because once black people become in the front, then it's a threat to the white system. Now, when we come to the post-civil rights era, mass incarceration and the war on drugs have targeted black communities, removing millions of black men from the workforce and creating a captive labor pool in prisons where they work for pennies. You get that story. Trump deportation targeted immigrants, laborers mostly, who fill many of the lowest paying jobs in agriculture, construction, and service industries. By removing these workers, by removing these immigrants from their post and labor market became unstable, the government expected black Americans to fill those roles, perpetuating the circles of exploitations. That's what this lady was thinking. And that's what I think. And that's why I'm supporting his ideology or her ideology. Because when you hear the speech of Trump, what he said is something that is talking about this. But I'll say this. This is what we call modern plantation system in action. Not with chains or with whips, but with poverty wages, unstable employment, and systematic barriers designed to keep black people at the bottom. Think about when we think back to the Great Migration, when millions of black families left south, hoping for better jobs in the north. Many found industrial work in factories, but when the economy shifted, they were the first to lose jobs and the last to be rehired. Let's think about the Reagan era's policies that were talking about economic hardship. Welfare reforms cut benefits, job programs were defunded, and crack cocaine was criminalized. Policies that made black people remain devastated. Each and every policies that are being forwarded by Donald Trump is not all to protect maybe black people. It's a strategy plan to continue oppressing black people. Now, Donald Trump wanted to make America great again. And for you to make America great again, for you to bring American jobs back to America, you need to do something. Take black people back to the farms and create opportunities where they were for white people. Now, but God of black people had other plans. That's why I usually say God of black people is doing magics. While politicians plotted, the prayers of black people are rising. Movement of resistance grew stronger. Black entrepreneurship surged. The Buy Black movement gained momentum. People turned to education, technology, and global connection with Africa to build wealth and independence. Now, when I go biblically, history, Bible is history too. Biblically, remember Pharaoh in Bible hardened heart as he tried to keep the Israelites enslaved. The harder he pushed, the stronger the people multiplied. This is our story. It's our story of black Americans. It's our story of black people. No matter the oppression, God chosen multiplies and thrive. And that's why we said in the 2050, black people will rule America. Why? Because black people, instead of declining, they are increasing. Instead of losing the faith and everything, they are increasing in innovation, invention, and everything. Black people ain't going down that easily. Black people are growing, and we are like, even when you see in Africa, the African youth are rising, and they are rising in numbers. When Trump policies hit, instead of falling back into desperation, many black communities leaned into faith, unity, and economic creativity. Unity being the top priority, where black Americans and Africans and Caribbeans and the black in the Europe, both of them, they are uniting. Now, this is what I call divine protection. It didn't stop the struggle, but prevented total collapse. We are seeing these policies, we are seeing these laws, and these laws maybe to deport immigrants. We think about the laws that's going on, but it's a strategic call to bring black people back to the field. Now, the fight isn't over. The face of oppression changes, but the system remains. To defeat it, we must unite economically as black people, we must unite politically, we must unite spiritually. We must build our support black business, build and support black businesses, educate our children on our true history, invest in land, agriculture and technology, forge strong ties with Africa and the diaspora, and always remember, God's hands is on our people, on black people, giving strength, wisdom, and hope. For example, the reason why I'm supporting this lady and I'm supporting the deportation, the laws and everything was to take back black people to the lands is when Donald Trump went on CNBC's Squawk Box earlier, just I think this week or this month, he was talking about deportation, migrant labor and American agriculture industries. And he said, and I will quote, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They have tried, we have tried, and everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. They don't get a bad back, because if they get a bad back, they die. They are very, very special people, and they cannot be easily replaced. Now, to the untrained ear, that just sounds like Trump is saying immigrants are better at farm work. But to those of us, who know American political code language, we know exactly what inner city means. Inner city means black people. And yeah, you can go back and research about it. When they talk about inner city, they talk about black Americans. And it has always been black Americans. So when they say inner city crime, they mean black communities. When they say inner city schools, they mean black students. When they say inner city people don't want to work, they mean black workers. This is what we call political dog whistling. And it's a coded speech designed to sound neutral while signaling to certain audiences exactly who they are talking about. Is like cheat code. Now, that lady on this clip, she is discussing what Trump said and trying to merge it with what she thinks about taking black people back to the street. Think about it, this one. You deport the immigrants' labor force that currently fill agriculture jobs, cut Medicaid, food assistance, housing support, and other social safety nets in poor, mostly black communities. Now, again, create an economic chokehold that forces people to take any work available just to survive. You cut Medicaid for black communities. You cut what we call food assistance, and then you send away immigrants. That means the black people that has remained here trying to survive, they will take any available job. And this job is what the immigrants has left. So black people to go and fill that job. Does it sound familiar? It should sound familiar, because this is not new. This is not new. This is slavery in a suit and tie. It's what we call sharecropping. It's prison labor without the bus. And I love to go back to the history books. When slavery was legally abolished in 1865, white America didn't say, oh, let's build equality. No, they panicked because they had lost their free labor force. They came up with black code and vengeance laws that made it illegal to be unemployed. So if you didn't have a job, it's against the law. And the most job available were plantation works. So you could be arrested if you don't have a jobs. You could be fined and leased to work for private companies, which was basically slavery by another name. Then came sharecropping, where freed black families rented land from white landowners, working the field for a share of the crop. But the system was rigged, so they could never escape the debt. Later, it came what we call sharecropping, where freed black families rented land, we call that. And then came what we call the prison industrial complex, where mass incarceration fed a system of prison labor that still exists up to today, paying pennies an hour to black men working in fields, factories, and warehouses. And now, we see it again. It's like history repeating itself. You deport immigrant workers, destabilize black communities, and force the same communities back into agricultural labor. This is a cycle. It's a playbook. And Trump words on CNBC were just him saying the quiet part out loud. We see the coded praise of immigrants when he said they do it naturally and don't get a bad back. He was doing two things at once. Praising immigrants as ideal workers, meaning exploitable, disposable, and desperate, and again dismissing black workers as unwilling, painting black people as lazy and unfit. I think whatever he's trying to do, the God of black people is like saving black people from it, because right now, the black people didn't fall for the bait. They didn't go back to the land. And you see the white farmers are out here crying because black people never fall for it. That's what I think on this video. Tell me what you think about these clips. Tell me, do you think what Trump was doing with the policies, trying to cut funds, trying to put some pressure on black people and sending away immigrants, do you think he was trying to destabilize black communities so that to force them to take any available job with the work farms and creating modern slavery? Do you think so? Personally, I think so, but I want to know what you think. That was just my views. Till next episode, peace out.